Well, good morning, and I want to begin by thanking Representative Peake, who's standing here with me this morning. I appreciate very much his very hard work on the issue of consolidation for the city of Macon and Bibb County, and I'm very grateful for the effort he's put into it and for his advocacy of this. I want to also express a word of thanks to Mercer University and Newtown-Macon for participating in a poll that was recently conducted, which gave us some very interesting information about the feelings of citizens in Bibb County and the city of Macon regarding consolidation and some other very important related issues. Let me just reiterate this morning something that I've frankly been saying now for about 3 years about consolidation. I think that consolidation for the city and the unincorporated areas is a very, very important idea. I think it is something that makes a great deal of sense in the grand scheme of things for both the city and the county and for all the citizens. However, I've also made it clear that I'm not for consolidation at any cost. And I have had really three things that I have advocated from the very beginning about consolidation that would have to be there in order for me to really be an advocate for it and to support it. And I've been consistent in that, and I want to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. But the first of those three is that I believe it should reduce the cost of government. Consolidation must, at the end of the day, result in savings for the taxpayers of both the incorporated and unincorporated areas of Bibb County. I do not believe that 1 + 1, a city government and a county government, should add up to bigger government. I believe it should add up to more cost-efficient government and a government that actually can provide services more efficiently and therefore provide savings for taxpayers. The second thing that I've said all along is that I believe this must be accomplished through a referendum. I do not believe this is something that should be forced upon the citizens and taxpayers of the unincorporated and incorporated areas. And there's been general agreement about that. If we move forward, there will be a referendum by which the citizens will have a chance to express their preferences on this very important decision. And then the final thing that I have said all along is that any plan of consolidation must not disenfranchise the voters of the 18th Senate District. Pardon me. I say that because I think there are some areas of the county that in which their citizens very strongly feel that in the last round of redistricting a decade ago, that their interests were not well served in the maps that were drawn. And so I think that's a very important issue as well for many voters in my area. Over the last several weeks since Representative Peake introduced House Bill 1161 with the support of a majority of the members of the Bibb County delegation in the House, I have heard from the citizens of Bibb County through emails and phone calls. I've heard from many civic and community leaders and business leaders, and I have found both their comments and the words that they have shared with me very instructive and helpful in this process. So that brings me to the point of the press conference this morning. I'm sharing with you a copy of a substitute to House Bill 1161, which I hope we will consider in the state Senate. This is a substitute that makes some changes, and I'm going to highlight what those are, and I think we've given you a list as well of the changes that I'm suggesting to the bill. But these changes allow me to enthusiastically support House Bill 1161 because I believe these are the changes that will accomplish the goals that I have set forward from the very beginning and will also reflect what I've been hearing from citizens, community leaders, and business leaders and elected officials within our county and city. Let me just briefly review what some of those changes are. They fall under 7 categories, and they're on a sheet which hopefully we have passed out to you. The first one is I have included Payne City in my version of a new charter. Payne City obviously is a very small area, but it seems to me just not very productive in the long haul to maintain an island within the county if we're going to have consolidation. So they will have a chance to vote on it, like the city and county in the charter that I'm proposing. Excuse me, I'm going to have to do something more dramatic here, I think. Here we go. I think it makes sense to give them an option, and if we're going to do consolidation, not leave Payne City stranded as a very small island or outpost within a consolidated Macon and Bibb County. The second change that I have included in my version of the bill is I am proposing an elected sheriff as the chief law enforcement officer rather than an appointed police chief. In the poll that was recently conducted, a full 70% of the respondents supported an elected sheriff as opposed to an appointed police chief as the chief law enforcement officer. Let me just say another reason why I have done this, or why I think this is important. And frankly, it comes down to finances and cost savings. Sheriffs are a constitutional officer. You cannot do without a sheriff. You must have a sheriff for every county in the state of Georgia. You can limit their duties. There are some constitutional duties that you cannot limit. And so if you have an appointed police chief, you're still going to have a sheriff. And I've spoken with some other areas of the state where consolidation has been achieved, specifically in Muskogee and Columbus, where they regret, or many of the elected officials there have told me they regret not doing it under the sheriff because they actually have 3 levels of law enforcement within their county. It costs more, and sometimes it's not as efficient in the operations, and so it makes sense to me that we have one and that we allow the citizens of the consolidated area to elect the sheriff. There will be some discussion about that, I'm sure, but that at least is what I'm proposing at this particular time in my version of the charter. A third change is I am proposing a 9-member commission rather than a 7-member commission. This is frankly an attempt to compromise with some of the things I'm hearing from some other members in the delegation. Particularly, I would candidly say Senator Brown. I believe he would rather have a larger governmental entity. I frankly would have been comfortable with 7. I don't think it should be any more than 9, but I'm willing to make a compromise on that point if that helps move the discussion forward. Number 4, and this comes down now to several things I've included in the charter, which I believe help to make it, it helps to ensure that there will be cost savings in a consolidated government. From the new consolidated government, detailing their actions to reorganize or reconstitute various boards, commissions, and authorities in order to gain efficiencies in operations. I mean, I want to make sure, again, that 1 + 1 is not going to equal more than 2. It should equal less. When we consolidate the governments, we've got to reduce and eliminate duplications. And so in order to help facilitate that, the charter would simply require, again, that there is a report after the end of 2013 about what they're doing to accomplish this, and then every 2 years a report would be mandated whereby they could talk about how they're trying to gain these efficiencies in operations. A second thing that we've done along these lines is to put a cap on budget growth requiring a reduction over the first 5 years with specific annual goals or targets. We do allow for inflation. We do allow for a provision where 7 of the 9 members can vote to exceed the caps in extraordinary circumstances, because we all know, as we're just now experiencing, sometimes bad times do come and they require extraordinary circumstances. But by and large, we would require that they achieve those savings as it relates to the budget of the consolidated government over the first 5 years of operations. And you'll find that in the charter near the end.